Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to One Hub Racing here for round number 10 of the P3 Championship. And of course, a bit of a different one because you're hearing double the Welsh accent here tonight. As my name is Michael Edwards, I'm going to be taking you through the action. And of course, joined alongside me in the commentary box is our P3 expert. There's of course Colin R. Mason. How are you doing, Cole?
Afternoon, Mike. Afternoon, all. Bit of an earlier start for us, Mike, obviously, because we got the real Formula One at the same circuit as well. So that makes it extra hype for this race and for tonight's race.
Absolutely, and of course, a very difficult circuit, Cole. Obviously, the Circuit of the Americas, a circuit where tyre temperatures have always been a key factor around this circuit, especially when you're on the softs or the medium compounded tyres. They're usually a nightmare to keep under control, but obviously we saw what happened earlier in the pre-race show, and we know the conditions, and it's gonna be very interesting to say the least.
Oh, Mike, it's going to be chaos. So obviously, here at One Hub, we do a adaptive weather system where we have a set number of scenarios that we pick throughout the season with a maximum of 4 wet affected races. This is the 4th. So we know that the rest of the season is going to be dry. But tonight's race, qualifying, is going to start off wet. But Mike, it is going to go dry. But the race is very wet, then wet, and then clear. So we might see some dry running towards the end of the race. Might.
Yeah, obviously, in terms of qualifying as well, obviously we should be seeing maybe the dry tyres come out towards the end of qualifying. But, I mean, it's very similar to what we had last week in Qatar. And obviously, in that qualifying, it was very touch and go if you were going to get a dry lap in. And yeah, I mean, for this race, it's also going to be very interesting to see if you're going to get another dry lap in.
Yeah, exactly. It's going to be, you know, and if they do, it's going to be right at the end of the session. It's almost going to be a one-shot quali for these drivers. So a lot of pressure. And of course, Mike, I mean, you know, you're a very experienced driver. You know it is to invalidate your lap round here.
Yeah, absolutely. That first sector with the S is very easy to pick up an invalidation there, especially going through the turn 4, turn 3, 4, 5 complex. Very easy to extend on the exit of turn 9 as you climb up the hill at the start of the middle sector, and then of course coming through the very tight corner at turn 15, obviously infamously known as the gust of wind corner from many years gone by. And of course, penultimate corner, turn 19, where you've got to throw the car through, but it's very easy to just extend on the exit at turn 19, and that's going to be key areas for the drivers to focus on in qualifying and in the race to keep those time penalties down to a minimum.
Yeah, exactly. It's one of those circuits again where if you're not careful, before you know it, you've got 9 seconds of penalties. And of course, with these wet weather conditions, it's going to make it even easier to misjudge your entry speed and run wide on the exit as well. So it's going to be a very interesting afternoon where the drivers are going to have to think about their strategy. Because strategy decisions today, Mike, I could see making the difference.
Yeah, absolutely. And of course, it is a mandatory 2-stop as well. Obviously, something that we must emphasize. It is a mandatory 2-stop. So it's going to be interesting to see when it comes to the race call, who is going to be risking it on the set of inters, like straight from the start, and maybe doing 2 sets of inters, maybe a set of dries towards the end. Or if people are going to start on the full wet compounded tyres.
Yeah, that's the thing. I mean, if they do start on the inters, they're going to find it very, very tricky in the first first couple of laps, literally just keeping it on the track. But it could be the better strategy, Mike, overall. It's going to be a very interesting one. And, the drivers who have the opportunity to do a bit of practice, they're in quite a advantageous position, let's say, compared to drivers who haven't, this could be their first opportunity of trying it.
Yeah, absolutely. And before we head to qualifying, let's have a quick reminder of the standings here in P3. So, obviously, Jacob and Berjak obviously moving up into P2. The lead car right now in P3 is JR Mason, who's currently on 72 points, 5 points ahead of Matthias. And Matthias has been a driver that he had a very good spell in that mid part of the season, and it's been a little bit rocky for him in recent races.
Yeah, I mean, it's quite strange, really, how Matthias and Mason's season has almost, kind of gone a similar way. So they started off brilliantly. Mason getting a win and a podium, Matthias getting 3 podiums. But in the last 3 races, for Mason, 9th DNF and 12th, and Matthias 14, 8 and 14. So they need to get their seasons back on track. We know, obviously, that Jacob has been crowned the P3 champion. But, 2 and 3, where, of course, there's a trophy on offer, that is not anywhere near decided yet. You look at the standings there, and you can see, Berjak's on 87. Don't forget, he's been moved up, so he's not going to be scoring any more points. Then you've got Mason on 72. Matthias on 67, Gazza on 62, Jamie on 57, and Hockey on 53. Absolutely sod all in it.
Yeah, absolutely, and it's going to be interesting to see what happens. And of course, there have been a few drivers that, of course, come down from P2 recently, and of course, Joe, Vitinho, and Lawrence, who of course are very quick drivers on their day, and definitely going to be up there towards the front. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens. But yeah, we'll quickly run you through the order. Obviously, Jacob, crown P3 champion, we'll see on 132 points, and obviously moved up now into P2. Berjak in second, currently on 87 points, 72 points for JR Mason in third. Matthias on 67 points in fourth. Kinney, who has also moved up to P2, he's on 62 points. Joint with Gazaman, who's also on 62 points, and an opportunity to climb up into the top 5 here tonight for Gazaman. Same for Jamie as well in 7th place on 57 points. Hockey Night in 8th on 53 points. And of course, we've got Miles in 9th on 50 points. Rydog in 10th on 40 points. Quinn in 11th. Jack in 12th. Joe, of course, has recently moved down. He took the win last time out, Cole. He's in 13th on 28 points. Vitinho, podium in his first race in P3. And then, of course, a 6th place finish last time out. He's in 14th on 22 points. And then, of course, we got Shiesty, Lawrence, Formula Fury, and then, of course, we got Max, Proverb, and then Dr. Mew, John, and Lind Falk bringing up the rear of the field.
Yeah, it's very, very, very close. Very, very difficult to even think about who could get second and third at this stage. It's going to, Mike, they're old school now. It's now getting to, how's your bottle? How calm are you under pressure? The constructors, looks as though Ferrari have put one hand on that constructors trophy at the minute with 168 points, with Mercedes in second on 134. But we know how strong the Mercedes have been of late. So, it's certainly not Ferrari's day yet.
No, absolutely not. And of course, we talk about obviously Mercedes being the closest challengers on 134 points, but look how close it is in behind them. Williams on 129 and then 128 for the McLaren pairing. And that's going to be interesting going towards the end of the season. Can Ferrari hold on to the lead, or will one of those three teams begin to reel them in towards the end of the season? Of course, the constructors, there is a trophy up for grabs, I believe, in the constructors as well, Cole. So
Yeah.
it's going to be interesting to see which constructors team come out on top there. Red Bull in 5th on 107 points. Then, of course, we got the Saubers in 6th on 73. 61 points for the Haas team, the home team coming into tonight's race on 61 in 7th place. Alpine in 8th on 51. Then, of course, we got the Aston Martins and the RBs in 9th and 10th on 33 and 23 points respectively.
Yes, and of course, don't forget, we also have our car wear system as well, where drivers have got to take a engine and a gearbox penalty. So engine is 10 places and gearbox is 5. Mike, we have 2 drivers this evening taking gearbox penalties. That is Matthias and Miles. So they're going to be 5 places further back from where they qualify.
Yeah, and of course, around a circuit like this, Cole, I mean, overtaking opportunities in the dry, obviously, you're looking down DRS straight down in towards turn number 12, being the main overtaking opportunity, and maybe up the hill in towards turn number 1 for the second opportunity. But in the wet, it's going to be very difficult for these drivers to overtake. So qualifying for the likes of Miles and Matthias is going to be absolutely crucial. But Cole, I think without further ado, should we head to the action in qualifying right now?
Yeah, let's go ahead and see the conditions on the track.
And there we go. We've had a couple of times come in already. Obviously, Lawrence currently topping the times on a 47.6. 0.3 of a second ahead of Rydog in second place. Joe in third on a 48.1. And of course, we got Matthias, who's on a bit of a cool down lap, I believe, invalidated. And he is currently in fourth on a 48.3. But you can see the track is looking drier now, Cole. So, obviously, the rain, while it was out, it doesn't appear to have been out for very long. It's just going to be very slippery if you do jump on the set of the softs right now.
Yeah, exactly that. So, you can see that it has stopped raining. Matthias there coming back into the pit lane. But it's going to take a couple of laps for these puddles and standing water to disappear so we can get some proper dry running. But it's looking like drivers will probably get in more than one dry run.
Yeah, it seems like we could potentially be seeing a good 2 laps on the dry compound tyres in tonight's qualifying, which is going to be interesting. Honestly, 12 qualifiers here tonight. Hopefully, we will be getting some more coming through ready for the race. But yeah, Lindvalk and Rydog obviously taking advantage of the ever drying circuit and improving on their lap times. And that's going to be the thing now, Cole. In this little transition period between the inters and the dry compound tyres, it's going to be very slippy for the dries if you're out on track on them. And the inters are just going to get quicker, but they're going to overheat quicker, causing the car to slip out.
Yeah, exactly that. DRS not yet enabled either, so that proves that it's not quite ready for slicks yet. But you can see that Lindvalk seems to be struggling, overheating those inters already, sliding coming out of some of the corners. But you can see on the screen on the left on the timing board, there's already 6 drivers in the pit lane with their soft tyres ready.
Yes, and one out on track at the moment, and that is J.R. Mason. Of course, currently P3 in the P3 Championship, and try saying that 5 times fast. J.R. Mason on his outlap, and I just had a little glance at him, obviously, in that first sector. It does still appear to be a little bit slippery, but it doesn't look absolutely horrible just yet. It seems like we're getting close to the dries being ultimately the better tire to be on.
Yeah, I think what Mason's done here is quite smart. So he's gone out early enough so that he could set a lap, but also come back in the pit lane and have another shot at it later on. So I suspect this is a bit of a sighter lap, and just to give himself a valid lap and give himself a delta as well, because that's always helpful for the drivers. Something to target as well. And here he is now starting his lap, but you can see there, Mike, no DRS yet.
No DRS activated yet, so we're still in that crossover period as we climb up the hill in towards turn number 1. Second gear, the gear choice there for JR Mason as he looks for the good traction on the exit. It does get the traction, but probably not as quickly as he would have hoped as we come through the S's now, where it's all about keeping it valid. And there we go, DRS has now been enabled as we look at the first sector split, and it's a 27.6. But you see there with JR Mason almost second guessing himself through the S's, turning in, then backing up, then turning in again. So maybe underestimating just how much grip he had in those corners.
Yeah, I think he feels as though he's got a bit more grip than he was expecting. But this is good knowledge for Mason now. He can, when he goes out again later on in the session, he's going to have a lot more information available to him now. And Mike, I feel as though, and again, as we've had in numerous races this year, whoever decides to leave it as late as possible, they're probably going to be the ones, near the front.
Yeah, obviously the track evolution is going to be a key around this circuit, and of course leaving it the latest as you possibly can to make sure that you can get across the line and get that lap going is going to give you the maximum amount of grip on the track. But JR Mason now coming through towards the final corner. It's looking like this is going to be provisional pole, but by how much as he crosses the line, and it's by a good 3.5 seconds, Cole.
Yes, but crucially, that is a lot of time. I think we're looking at about probably 8 seconds slower than what Mason would be capable of in a full dry session. So that just shows that this track is going to get quicker and quicker and quicker.
Yeah, and let's not forget as well, when he started his lap, DRS was not activated. So obviously he did lose out on the DRS down the start-finish straight. As we're on board right now with Joe coming through the final corner, and he's improving on his lap time. But he's on to the exit curb, but he's managed to keep it in the track limits. But it's a 37.5, just indicating that the track is just going to ramp up and get quicker and quicker.
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't that surprising, how much, there wasn't a lot of time difference really between Mason and Joe there, but a considerable amount of time. So I think we're going to be starting now, because what have we got, Mike? We've got just under 6 minutes left. They're probably going to try and leave it as late as they can, and go out with just 3 minutes to spare.
Yeah, absolutely. As we're still waiting for 2 lap times to come in, of course, from Miles and Fury Formula. As we saw an improved lap time coming in from Max and, of course, Jamie up into P2 right now. And what would they do for Jamie? Speaking of Miles, there he goes on a provisional pole, 36.6 right there. And I was going to say, what would this do for Jamie? Obviously, to get himself into that contention for the pole position. Because obviously, Jamie, a driver that is very well experienced. He's had moments in the past where he's had fantastic races, and I mean China last season comes to mind, Cole. But
oh yeah,
can Jamie be a potential race winner here tonight?
I definitely think so. Looking at the practice session we had earlier, his race pace in the rain was very, very good, and he looked and felt comfortable. So I think Jamie's coming into this race with a lot of confidence.
Yeah, as Right Dog goes up onto provisional pole with a 34.8, immediately beaten by Lynn Falk, who's on a 33.9 call. As the Fury Formula has invalidated on his lap, and now he's under big pressure because he's going to have to come into the pits, put on a fresh set of softs, and he has to make sure that he keeps it valid. Hockey now goes up the order. He does improve. It looks like he was doing a bit of a second outlap of sorts. So obviously not really pushing on his ERS, but now he is starting to push on his ERS.
Yeah, Lindfalk set that time quite late, so I don't know whether Lindfalk's going to have time. Let's just have a look where he's coming back. No, I'm pretty convinced now that Lindfalk is going to really struggle to get in the pit lane, put a brand new set of softs on, and have another go. But we'll have to wait and see.
Yeah, we absolutely will. Of course, Lindfalk right now, obviously, those are the kind... We're getting closer to the dry tyres that we would have expected. Obviously, with the 33s, obviously, probably expecting... if it was a completely dry session, Cole, I mean, we'd be expecting probably the 32s to come out to play, possibly.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it's possible that somebody could get a 32 now, but it'd have to be a particularly special lap for them because, like we were saying earlier, Mike, it's basically one-shot quality at this stage. Because now the track is probably at its peak now, not far off perfect conditions now, and Lindfalk is in the pit lane, and he is not going to have enough time, Mike, to do another lap. So I think that is the end of Lindfalk's session.
And Hockey Nye has just invalidated on his lap, and he would have done a 34 flat if he kept it within the lines, and he invalidates on the final corner call, picking up the invalidation for this and next lap. So that is not good for Hockey Nye, and he could be starting from the back of the field.
Yeah, this is the danger with this circuit. It's so easy to invalidate, and because the drivers have basically only got 1 or 2 laps to set a time, it makes life very, very difficult. Now, what Hockey Nye would probably best doing now is saving his ERS, saving his tyres, and having another stab at it, but he might not have enough fuel, Mike.
Yeah, that is going to be crucial. Obviously, JR Mason just starting his lap, and so we're seeing he has 1 minute and 50 seconds. So if he feels that the lap is not good enough by the end of the first sector, he can back out and maybe go again at the end of the session. Because I believe him and Joe will are the only ones that can maybe back out of their lap and go again. But JR Mason, 2.5 seconds up in sector 1.
Yeah, that's a huge amount in sector 1. I mean, if he can do that in each sector, he is really looking potentially for pole position here. Let's have a look, see how good... Yeah, look at that. That was lovely. Good exit speed down this long back straight. Opens the DRS. Now he's got to pick his braking point. Finds his braking point. Slams on the anchors. Gets a good apex there. This is a good lap from Mason. This now the very, very tricky bit. Always find this tricky, especially putting the power down here. And then we're into the very, very sharp left-hander. And now nailing the throttle again. Is he going to be... Let's have a listen. Certainly is. Easy flat. Now this is the corner where you so easily invalidate. Mason gets it pretty good, to be fair, into the last corner. What's the lap time going to be as he nails the throttle? It's going to be a 33.2. That's a very, very good from Mason there. That's impressive.
Yeah, absolutely. And I've just jumped on board with Joe, who, of course, is coming to the end of his flying lap. So let's see what Joe can do. He's currently in P6. Is he going to put in a challenge with Mason? And he does by less than 400ths of a second.
Wow, doesn't get much closer than that. I could almost hear Mason swearing in his seat at this point. But I think that... Have we got anyone else about to cross the line?
Fury's coming to the line right now, and he has a car in behind him. I believe it's a Williams or Jamie in behind him. But Fury... I mean, Jamie jumps himself up in the P3, but... It's not a safe P3, I'd say, right now for Jamie. I think he potentially just it just wasn't looking good on our final lap for him, as we got one of the Haas's coming to the line now. Is that Max? Yes, it is. 35.2 for him. It's his teammate Hockey Nye. Yeah, he's run out of fuel, unfortunately for him. But he's got a fast approaching Miles in behind, who he should be out of the way of if he comes into the pit lane, but he has elected to continue on. The checker flag is out. Miles now coming through the final corner. Is this going to be an improvement for the Alpine? Up to the line, and he goes up into P2. And look at that call. 11 thousandths of a second between Miles and Mason.
That's absolutely fantastic. Top three, all within half a tenth of each other. Absolutely astonishing. And Matthias puts it up into, and Lawrence now in P4. So these just shown, and Linfalk's crossing the line. What's Linfalk going to manage? Linfalk up into 5th place as well. So Jamie was in P3 and he's down now in P8.
Yeah, as Vitinho does find time, but not enough to get him up the order. He stays in P9. And that is the end of qualifying call. And Joe takes pole position by, let's see if my maths is spot on by here, by 24 thousandths of a second.
Absolutely astonishing. That really is quite special. Don't forget, Miles and Matthias are getting grid penalties. So that's going to affect it. So Miles will drop down and obviously Matthias. But there is your grid for today's race.
Yeah, so it's going to be Joe starting from pole position. Miles comes in P2, but of course with his gearbox penalty, he'll be starting a little bit down the order. Mason in P3 with Lawrence in P4, Linfalk in P5, with Matthias in P6, Rydog in 7th, with Jamie in 8th, Vitinho 9th, Max in 10th, the Fury Formula in 11th, and Hockey Nye in 12th was unable to get that lap in the end, unfortunately for him. But Cole, a very, very good lap right there from Joe, and he managed to pull out of the bag when it mattered, when the dries were coming into the window.
Yeah, that was a stunning lap. That really was. To be fair, I think the top 3 drivers getting into the 33.2s, and you've got to say a lot of pressure because they had one lap and that was about it. So yeah, absolutely astonishing. But it's a completely different challenge now for the race, Mike. How are these drivers going to cope with the torrential conditions that are forecast for the start of the race?
Well, that is going to be the all-important question. Of course, looking at what has gone on in the media for tonight's race, obviously it was a Fury that was called into the driver's press conference. Of course, the questions were put into him. Welcome in. So it's fair to say you've visited the steward's room this season a few times. Are you confident of not having to visit again this season, or are you still going to go full throttle and hope for the best? Fury saying, sadly, yes, I am not like that though. It's just unlucky, to be honest. It makes me extremely sad by watching my past teammate and the current fighting in front, while I'm just messing it up. And next season I'll do better. However, I have to be aggressive while maintaining composure and not ruin anyone's races. Ferrari is on top of the constructors, and I need to do my utmost best to keep it up there. And then, of course, at the end saying firm apologies to everyone. My instance were never on purpose.
Yeah, Fury's had a very, very up and down season. He started off quite well, then it all went a bit pear-shaped for him, where he made some poor decisions, to be honest. But he's still in the hunt. Didn't go his way today in qualifying, but if he could just stay out of trouble, Mike, keep the penalty count as low as he can, he could get some great points for Ferrari towards the constructors.
Yeah, absolutely. And of course, with Ferrari leading the way, I mean, both him and his teammate Vitinho need to obviously make sure that they keep the points ticking over. Speaking of Vitinho, he's been brought in with the rivalries, getting a little bit spicy with him and Rydog. As the questions were put to the pair of them, since you guys have been in P3, you've battled well, and now you find yourselves challenging for the Constructors' Championship. Are you guys confident you can continue to challenge, and can you work together effectively? Rydog saying, I'll be trying my best to score decent points for the remainder of the season. I personally think the Constructors is going to be a tall order. Seeming Proverb is away this week, and there's only so much I can do. I think my main goal is to try and keep Merc P3 in the Constructors against McLaren. And of course, Vitinho saying, I am trying my best to get the title for Ferrari. It's not that easy since my teammate Fury Formula is not helping too much with points. But I will try to be consistent enough to get points. So, I mean, a little bit of a nudge to his teammate there from Vitinho, and maybe we could be seeing Ferraris come into blow at some point if it continues like that.
Yeah, I can see that happening. Unfortunately, Proverb not being here tonight. He hasn't had the best of seasons. He's struggled a little bit in P2 and dropped down to P3. But hopefully he'll be back for the next two and show everyone what he's capable of. Of course, a former One Hub champion as well, Mike.
Yeah, absolutely. And of course, Proverb, a very capable driver as well in his own right. So, when he's on it, he's absolutely on it. So right now, considering he's not here, is a big miss for Mercedes, but it's also a big opportunity for the other drivers out there to gain some very crucial points. Of course, the Constructors, I mean, you got the Ferraris leading the way, but you've got McLaren and Williams with a great opportunity to jump Mercedes and make a dent in that lead that Ferrari currently have.
Yeah, exactly that. I mean, it's in, like I said, Ferrari have probably got one hand on the trophy, but there's still a lot of points on offer. If they have a disastrous race today, and the two Williams boys and the Merc of Rydog get a good result, then the pressure is going to be, firmly on the Ferrari drivers to keep their lead.
Yeah, absolutely. And of course, I believe Gaza has managed to join in time for the race, so we will be getting an extra driver call, and that's quite big for Gaza. But before we head to the action again on track, a quick thanks to our sponsors and partners here at One Hub Racing. Of course, Next Level Racing for providing some fantastic prizes. Of course, Sim Racing Setups as well, who of course provide prizes for our driver of the days, winning the £10 voucher. And of course, the winner of the Sim Racing Setup driver of the season will get a £100 voucher call. So they'll be, all the drivers looking for the driver of the day, so going to be eyeing that one up. Of course, if you do use code OneHubRacing at the checkout on Sim Racing Setups, you will get 5% off orders there also. And of course, our sponsors at Pure Sim Gear, using code OHR10P, and you will get 10% off of the items. And of course, the combined pole positions and fastest laps will receive either a pair of sim racing gloves or socks. Of course, to Vespertwin as well for sporting our apparel. And of course, we saw earlier with the graphic, with the stand-ins on Sim Grid, and without them, we would be using Google Forms to go through the stand-in. So Sim Grid very much helping us out there. And of course, last but not least, to our charity at the Mental Health Foundation. Cole, I have just seen the weather and it's looking very grim out there.
It is, isn't it? I mean, this weather I don't think can be any worse on the F1 game. This is about as worse as it gets. So it's going to be so tricky going into turn one. Let's hope the drivers have more spatial awareness than the real Formula One drivers did going into turn one in the sprint race. Let's, it's going to be so difficult. Finding your braking point. Where can you put your foot down? It's going to be a really exciting race, Mike. I can't wait for it to get going.
Yeah, absolutely. And of course, obviously, referring to the sprint race from yesterday, where of course we saw the McLarens come together in real life. Will we see anything like that happen at turn one? I mean, we don't want to see it, but it is very possible. The nature of that corner, uphill braking, and of course, just the undulation of that corner when you're going around it is very easy to make contact, and drivers have to be very wary going into turn number one.
They are. One thing that the drivers must remember, the old Murray Walker proverb, you can't win the race on the first corner, but you sure can lose it. So, you're better off losing a place or two than losing part of your car or, heaven forbid, your wheel, and it is race over. Nice to see this week as well, Mike. The drivers are not readying up, so that gives all the drivers time to load their setup, get their strategy right, get their fuel load right, and get ready for lights out.
Yeah, absolutely. And of course, a couple of drivers doing the pre-race interviews for tonight, but we're going to come back to that in a moment because we are going to those 5 red lights, Cole, as we're about to begin the action here in COTA, and it's lights out and we are underway, and a very tentative start from a lot of drivers as they climb up the hill, but Joe still holding the lead as Lawrence has managed to get himself up into P2, so the McLarens are going line the stern in first and second place.
Yes, and Mason's had a shocker of a start. I see he's already down 9th place after just a couple of corners. So that is the worst start possible for Mason. I don't know whether he's got damage. I will have a look. But the perfect getaway for Joe. But you can see how tricky it is. Look at them sliding all over the track.
Well, what we're seeing here, Cole, is in these conditions, the wet compound tyres are performing better than the intermediates because we have a split in the field of those that have gone for the green wall and blue wall tyres. As Matthias gets through on Mason there on his wet tyres, past Mason on the intermediates, and the top 3 all on wet tyres are pulling away from the rest of the field.
Yeah, that's the thing. So the intermediate runners, they seem to be really struggling. Now, the track is going to come to them at some point, but at this stage, they're really struggling. They've got no grip at all. And the wet runners, you can see, they are, I wouldn't say comfortable, Mike, but they are finding life a lot easier.
Yeah, absolutely. And of course, we're seeing a nice little battle going on between the Haas and the Alpine. As when I go on the broadcast camera, it does look a little bit awful, so I'll try and stay on board so we don't get any interesting glitches going on there. But Max here ghosting slightly as he almost went straight into the side of Miles, so fortunately for him he did ghost, and that's released Gazaman and Matthias now to go chasing after the Alpine in 6th place.
Yeah, exactly that. So it's going to be very interesting, Mike, when these intermediate tyres are going to kick in and be the better tyre. But I got to be honest, Mike, I'm very impressed with the first couple of laps. No damage whatsoever. Everyone seems to have pretty much, or as Lynn Falk does to be blunt, an unfair manoeuvre, hits the back of Joe and gains from it. So Joe will not be very happy with that manoeuvre.
No, absolutely not. And we know what Joe is capable of, and we know the pace of Joe. And now it's all going to be about, right, if I'm going to get overtaken like that, I'm going to pile on as much pressure onto you as possible and force you into a mistake. And you know that's going to be Joe's mentality now.
Exactly that. One thing I'm really surprised at, Mike, look at the field spread already. The Fury Formula 13 seconds behind the leader just in 2 laps. That is surprising, so just shows how tricky conditions really are out there.
Yeah, and of course, Lindvalk has managed to break away, obviously, outside that 1 second window. Obviously, no DRS in these conditions. But Rydog on those intermediates doing very well so far to stick with the wet tyres. And I think we might be seeing the intermediates starting to come into play somewhat. Because you're seeing Rydog sticking onto the back, and you're seeing Miles holding the gap right now with Vitinho up ahead.
Yeah, I think you're right there, Mike. I think these Inters are now starting to get warmed up. They would have been so cold at the start. It would have taken them ages to get any heat into the tyres. And now all the 4 runners seem to be settling down a bit and got a little bit more grip now.
Yeah, and of course a lot of work to do for the man down in P12. He's in the final points paying position, JR Mason. It was a fantastic qualifying from him up towards the front, but a horrible start as he fell all the way down to P12 in the opening couple of corners. So a lot of work for Mason to do in this race, but what do you think would have been going through Mason's mind at the start? Obviously losing all those positions. Do you think he's more in the mind of, okay, right, I know I'm not going to have the grip at the start, so I'm just going to try to keep my nose clean, keep my front wing in check, and then just let the tyres come to me? Or do you think he just got absolutely flustered at the start?
Probably a bit of both. But I think he would have known starting on the Inters that he wasn't going to get a good start as Gaza makes it through now. On Matthias, Gaza up into 7th place, but Matthias right behind him. He's coming back at him. He's using his ERS. He's in the inside. Is he going to make it? No, he backs out of it just at the last moment. Gaza holds on to P7.
Gaza able to hold on to P7 there as Matthias was having a little peek going in towards turn number 12. But it is going to be Gazaman holding on to P7 and getting onto the back now of Miles here.
Yes, and Miles is doing very well on the intermediate tyres, but look at Rydog on those Inters. He is blatantly being held up by the 2 McLarens ahead. You feel as though it's only a matter of time before Rydog can get past. But don't forget, Mike, as we know, there's no DRS, so he's going to have to do it under braking. Is he going to have a look into T1? Yes, he is. Oh, that's tight.
Very
and he's
close.
on the alongside. Is he going to try going around the outside? Going to be brave.
That will be bold and brave if Rydog's able to pull this off, but no, he just does not have the grip on the outside. Offline call is still very wet out there, so I'm not surprised that the Inters did not have the grip to make that work for him, but the track is getting better and better, so the Inters are going to come into play very soon. And it's going to be a case of just when the Inters are going to come into play. Because, I mean, Miles, he is losing time to Vitinho now. I think that's possibly down to a mixture of looking behind and seeing the likes of Gazaman and Matthias coming at him and just making a few mistakes. But you're seeing now that gap between him and Vitinho is beginning to come down as it goes back up by 6/10 of a second. So forget what I say.
Rydog is in the inside of Lawrence, and I think he's got the manoeuvre done. Lawrence is going to try fighting back, but he cannot, and that is Rydog up into 3rd place. As Lawrence tries to fight back, doesn't quite manage it. Rydog now sets his sights on the next McLaren.
Yeah, right now Rydog in a McLaren sandwich, and he's made the move on one, and now he's got to focus up now because he's got the second one to come through. And we're seeing as the leader is coming into the pit lane, so Lindvalk acknowledging that the wets are beginning to fall away here, and he is opting to go onto the set of the Inters now, as we see Lawrence and Vitinho also into the pits, Gazaman into the pits. So Cole, at the end of lap 4, that's when the tyres have switched. As look at this, well, fantastic little switch back here from Right Dog side by side with Joe as they come through turn number 2. And I think Right Dog this time around does have the grip on the outside, and he makes that move stick. And Right Dog now into the race lead.
That's tremendous. Fair play for Brian. That was a lovely, lovely move. Very brave around the outside as well. Shows the superior grip at the minute of those intermediate tyres. Now, the problem that these wet runners have got, they've gone onto these intermediates very, very early. So they're going to have to drag these intermediates out now until, you know, the potential dry weather comes towards the end of the race, Mike. But that's not going to be easy.
No, it's going to be very difficult. I mean, we mentioned it earlier. Tyre temps are usually the downfall of your tyres around this circuit, as we're seeing up ahead of Mason, Hockey Nye, Jamie and Linfalk having a bit of a ding-dong battle here, as Jamie and Hockey Nye are side by side. And here comes Linfalk. He's going to make a free wide going down in towards turn number 12. As we go under braking, it's going to be Linfalk to the inside, and he's going to make a double overtake. Linfalk under braking, getting the double overtake done. Up into P4 he'll go. Jamie going around the outside of Hockey Nye, getting that one done as well. And I think Mason beginning to struggle a little bit with tyre temps, but Lawrence here almost going down the inside in towards turn 15, elects to not commit to it. And now, honestly, Cole, I think tyre temps are coming into play for the Williams pairing, as the McLaren of Lawrence is all over the back of Mason here, and this is where we're going to see the difference, obviously, in terms of the 4-lap difference of the Inter tyres. And we're going to see if the strategy is going to pay off by starting on the wets, because if you're Linfalk, you've already made a pit stop advantage over 2 of the runners that started on the Inters. But look how far behind the race leader you are. 16.6 seconds behind the race leader.
Yeah, this is the problem now. And of course, they can't afford really to push that hard on these Inters. They got to make them last. You know, they've got to drag them out now towards the end when the drier weather's come in. The drivers who started on the Inters, they can just come in really when they feel as though the tyres are not at their best anymore, and then go on to another set of Inters waiting for the rain. So a mixture of strategies here, Mike, and we're not going to find out who's the right one until towards the end of the race.
Absolutely, and of course that is one thing that we do enjoy. We do love a nice split in terms of the strategies. Obviously Linfalk, though, has pulled away from the Williams of Jamie, so he's getting away and getting a nice bit of fresh air that he can just push into until he goes up to Miles. Lawrence, though, almost pushing Mason through the corners here. Lawrence just has so much more confidence, as Vitinho in behind, picking himself up a 3-second time penalty. Very easy to do on this track, Cole, but it is absolutely imperative now that Vitinho does keep it all within track limits now for the remainder of the race.
Yeah, this is hurting Lawrence's race so much, and Joe's, and Vitinho's really. They're all getting held up by Mason. Mason, in all fairness, doing very well to keep them behind. But, of course, without the DRS, it's going to be uber difficult. But look at the run that Lawrence has on Mason now.
As he goes to the inside line, Lawrence, and gets that position done and dusted. And now Vitinho is going to be the next one to try and eye up the move on the Williams. And of course, we've got Joe directly in behind, so maybe we could see Joe try to capitalize on the two fighting in front of him and maybe go for a double overtake like we saw Linfalk do early on. Maybe he'll follow suit with the net race leader, but for right now, Mason holding on to P6, and Mason just, it appears to be to me that Mason is really struggling in these conditions. Yeah,
he certainly does not like the wet very much. He does find it very, very difficult, as we all do. But he is really struggling at the minute. But you know, he's doing the right thing. He's keeping it on the black stuff. He's not making mistakes.
Here comes Vitinho
And
to the inside.
yeah, Vitinho, very, very late on the brakes, cleanly down the inside, and that is Vitinho up into 6th place.
Yeah, and now it's on Joe to try and get through, and the confidence that Joe has versus Mason right now is going to make it very difficult for Joe coming into these braking zones, because obviously confidence is huge when it comes to the wet conditions, as Rydog sets a fastest lap of the race at 150.1, so showing his pace, 7 laps on those intermediates, a very good outing for him thus far. In fact, Linfalk hasn't really gained much time on him, but he does improve on the fastest lap, but he's not gained massively on him thus far in that 3A.
No, that's the surprising thing. But look at the lead that Rydog has got. 11.2 seconds. Rydog is loving these conditions at the minute. He's really in a comfortable place. Now, one thing that we haven't spoken about, Mike, setup. Now, which of these drivers have gone for a wet weather setup and which have gone for a dry setup, which means that they're going to be coming on better and better as the track dries up? That's another thing we're going to have to wait for.
Yeah, absolutely. And of course, setup's going to be crucial around here. If you've opted for the intermediate setups, then of course you're going to be looking very good in the early stages, but maybe towards the latter, it's going to begin to struggle a little bit. But I mean, for right now, it looks like obviously Rydog is just absolutely flying out in front, and he's gone even quicker in sector 1. So I think the track is evolving and getting quicker and quicker. Cole, it doesn't even appear to be raining that much anymore. It's still raining, but it doesn't appear to be raining that much. I think we could go to dry tyres within the next 5 to 6 laps.
It does feel like that, doesn't it? You can see that there's a dry already. The rain has, without a shadow of a doubt, eased quite dramatically. So it's all going to be about now timing this wet weather and dry weather. You feel as though the Inter drivers who started on Inters at the start of the race, they should be boxing pretty soon.
Yeah, and of course, I can imagine all the guys that started on the set, the Inters, are furiously asking the engineers for the weather report, so they can see if they can maybe just stretch it out straight to a set of dries. Because let's be honest, Cole, if you are the likes of Linfalk and obviously Vitinho, who's managed to get through on Jamie now, and obviously Joe, and those that have already made a pit stop onto the set of the Inter, starting on the wets, they're going to go on a set of hards and try to go to the end of the race. But for everyone else that started on the Inters, maybe they'll be able to get 2 sets of mediums out of it.
Yeah, that could well happen. It's going to be very, very interesting as Rydog now nearly 13 seconds ahead of Miles. That astonishing pace from Rydog at the minute, still putting in those fastest laps as well. Lawrence starting to catch Linfalk a little bit, but Joe still stuck behind Mason.
Yeah, Joe still stuck behind Mason, and Mason obviously, I think as the track begins to dry, Mason's confidence will go up, and Joe needs to get this move done now, and he understands the urgency of needing this move done as he looks to the inside in towards turn number 12. Joe is just not willing to commit, and obviously we saw earlier Vitinho very much trying to outbrake Mason down the inside. Lawrence obviously outbraking Mason down the inside as well. Joe seems very hesitant to do so, and he's going to leave himself vulnerable to Matthias and Gazelman in behind.
Yeah, definitely. And one thing I have noticed is Mason's pace has dramatically picked up. He's actually starting to catch his teammate. So, like exactly what you said, Mike, the drier it becomes, the more confidence Mason has. But I feel as though they've got a pit, and they've got a pit now. And yeah, there we go. Just as I say that, Miles is in the pit lane. Perfect time for Miles. That is the right decision in my eyes. And I think Mason's in the pit lane as well.
Yeah, Mason's in, and obviously the rain is getting close to stopping. It is still raining a little bit out on track, but we're seeing it visibly less falling onto the halos now. And that is, of course, going to make things very interesting. Obviously, the set of the Inters is, in my opinion, the right call in these conditions for Mason and for Miles. But I don't know. For me personally, considering like how much the rain has slowed, I don't know. I think it might have been worth to try and stick it out an extra couple of laps and go straight to the dries.
That, do you know what? Especially with the fact we haven't had a safety car, I'm very surprised that it's drying up as quick as it is. But don't forget, we do have it on approximate, so it is going to vary from session to session. But Joe has gone from being the attacker. He is now the defender with Gazaman and Matthias right on their tail.
Yeah, but now Joe has a bit of clear air to push into with Mason making that pit stop. And now we're going to see if Joe can get himself back within the conversation of a potential podium here. Remember, look how much time he is behind Vitinho now. And that gap is around about 7.5 seconds, the gap between Vitinho and Joe. And let's not forget, Rydog, he's actually still holding on to that 17-second lead to Lindvalk.
Absolutely astonishing pace from Rydog in these intermediate conditions. But he has yet to make his pit stop, don't forget.
Yeah.
But he's not going to lose many positions, Mike.
No, absolutely not. And I think if you're Rydog, obviously you have the option open. Maybe you can possibly think about that pit stop to another set of inters just to be on the safe side of things. But if he does stick it out until it comes to the dry tyres, Cole, then he will have a lead of over 17 seconds because obviously Lindvalk and the rest of the drivers are going to be coming into the pits. And if they go on a set of the hards and he goes to a set of mediums, maybe he can pull up enough of a gap that when he does make his second pit stop, he'll still come out in the race lead.
Yeah, exactly that. And that's the interesting thing here. So, right, are we also saying with his pace at the minute that he is almost certainly wet weather setup, which means that, yes, he's going to have lots of pace now, but when it does dry up, he's going to could potentially be a bit of a sitting duck. But with his lead that he's got at the minute, he's put himself in such a great position.
Gazaman and Joe side by side coming through turn 12. Gazaman down the inside gets the job done on Joe. Up into P5 he goes. And the pole sitter in Joe is beginning to get caught napping in terms of the race pace, because he was very hesitant on trying to get through on Mason, and now he's getting picked off now by Gazaman, and he's losing out massively to the likes of his teammate and Vitinho up ahead.
Yes, exactly that. Vitinho and Gazaman, don't forget, do have 3-second time penalties, as Matthias adds another 3 seconds for himself. So Joe is technically ahead of them, but his race pace is not where I think he would want it to be.
No, absolutely not. And you're seeing as well, he's already outside that 1 second on Gazaman. And I think Joe is just really, the setup is not tailored to the race pace, I don't think, for Joe. I think he definitely had the right qualifying setup, but yeah, race pace is not looking great. And I'm not sure, but I'm not seeing any raindrops right now, Cole.
I'm seeing some on my screen, but not many. But obviously, even when it does stop raining, it's not going to, not going to go straight to dries. It is going to take a couple of laps for that water to be removed by these intermediate tyres. As Lawrence now is in second place, he has just gone past Lindvalk. Lindvalk goes, no, thank you. I still want that position. Lindvalk and Lawrence had a bit of, and there's a bit of contact there between the two drivers as well.
And Lindvalk holds on to P2, but what this means, Cole, battling with Lawrence, the gap between Rydog and Lindvalk is increasing dramatically. There's 18.5 seconds between them now.
And of course, these two drivers fighting each other, slowing themselves down, is playing even more into the hands of Rydog. But Lawrence He is desperate to get past Linfalk. Is he going to have a go into turn one? Linfalk covers the inside. Can Lawrence do a switchback?
Oh,
He does
beautiful.
a scissor.
Oh,
Contact.
front
And that's
wing.
front wing damage for Lawrence. That is not what the McLaren driver needed. He's going to be...
Yeah, Lawrence going to be absolutely fuming with that one, and honestly, he's going to be gutted, and you'll know he'll have to get that front wing changed in the pit lane. But for right now, he's doing his best to hold on to the back of Linfeld in a very technical downforce area of the circuit, and the gap now to Vitinho is now down to 2 seconds. So Vitinho is going to creep onto the back of these two. Could we be seeing Vitinho potentially get himself a podium here tonight? Obviously, the gap between Rydog and Linfalk now 19 seconds. Lawrence wounded from that front wing damage. Vitinho does have that 3-second time penalty, but if Lawrence does go for the front wing change in the pit lane, he's going to come out a few seconds behind Vitinho, and that could allow Vitinho the opportunity of potentially holding on to a podium. But Lawrence, you're seeing there locking up and going deep through turn 15, and that's allowed Vitinho to take another 3 attempts out of him. And Linfalk there is back end stepping out on him, so maybe a sign that his intermediate tyres are beginning to overheat slightly, as he's actually going to dive into the pit lane.
Yeah, so Linfalk now is doing another pit stop. So he's done 8 laps. He's going to decide now he wants to put on another set of intermediates, Mike. But if it dries up, he's going to have to box again.
Yeah, we're going to have to see. Is it going to be another set of intermediates here for Linfalk? And yes, it is. As Joe picks himself up a 3-second time penalty. And honestly, Linfalk putting on another set of inters. I think that this potentially is a mistake from Linfalk. Obviously, it is still raining slightly. So let's not take it out of the consideration. It's still raining slightly, but the rain is getting lighter and lighter. And we could be seeing dry tyres very soon. And while he will have the pace on those fresh inters, it's going to be very tricky once it does go to the dry for him to make up the time that he's lost in that pit stop phase.
Yeah, exactly that. And I'm surprised that Rydog hasn't boxed either. He's done 13 laps on these intermediates. Don't forget, it's a 2-stop strategy at one hub here. Linfalk, Matthias and Fury have all done their 2 stops, but they're not going to be able to make it to the end on their current tyres, that's for sure.
As Miles putting the pressure on Joe there, Joe defending the inside line and holding on to that position, but Miles is absolutely hounding as we approach the halfway race distance. Rydog has put on a set, he's into the pits, and I think it's going to be a set of inters just to cover all bases here, and yes it will. And now Rydog has the quickest intermediates at the front, and he is going to have the ability of pulling away now in these ever drying conditions, as Lawrence is actually still going to be behind Rydog, but he will have the switch back. They're going to be wheel to wheel on the exit. Obviously Lawrence with that wing damage is going to be hindered, but he's going to give it a go to try and fight Rydog, and Rydog able to hold on to the race lead, so he's made a pit stop and still come out ahead of Lawrence. But Rydog now, all he's got to do is just try and pull away on these fresh inters in the ever drying conditions, and then pit for a set of the dries towards the end, and he'll be absolutely loving life.
Yes, and Joe has decided to box for his inters, and he has also elected, Mike, to change his front wing. So, but that's another driver that, you know, if it dries up, going to have to box again.
It's very interesting the strategies of which is going on here, Cole. Obviously, Rydog, we understand why he had to come into the pits. He definitely his tyres would have been absolutely screaming in agony 14 laps in these conditions. So we understand Rydog coming into the pits and obviously putting on a fresh set of inters. Is not quite ready for the dries just yet. But everyone else is a huge gamble putting on a third set of intermediates for these guys. Yes, they'll have the pace, but are they going to make up a full pit stop that they've just lost? I don't think so.
No, I don't think so either, Mike. I think it's too much to ask for them, to be honest. But you know, let's see what the situation is when it does dry up. Is that going to be the point that when Rydog struggles, because is he the driver with massive wings to be able to cope in these wet conditions?
Well, only time will tell on that one, Cole. But we got a lovely little battle going on for P8, P9 with Hockey Night and Jamie, and of course the battle for P10 as well between Matthias and Mason here. So the Williams are in a bit of a scrap going on right now, as Jamie going on to the wet parts of the track trying to get his tires just under temperature, as Matthias down the inside. Job done on Mason, but Mason getting the better traction out of the corner, but he's not going to go for it around the outside. But he is going to go onto the damp part on the exit of turn 2 and just try and cool down those tires a little bit.
Yes, so he's done 6 laps on them. Matthias only done 3, and you can see that Matthias is already attacking Jamie up ahead. Jamie was on the back of Hockey Night, but I think he's made a... and Matthias having a good race. The only thing that's going against him at the minute is that 3-second time penalty.
Yeah, absolutely. Speaking of 3-second time penalty, Joe now in P12 looking for the run on Mason coming out of the corner. And now Joe has to commit. He cannot do what he did earlier on, Cole, where he's willing to sit in behind Mason. He has to get the move done, and he is going to get the move done. Meanwhile, up ahead, Matthias getting the move done on Jamie. And Joe up into P11 and Matthias up into P9. And it's important for both Matthias and Joe to get through on the likes of Jamie and Mason, because then they can really attack Hockey Night. Remember, only 2 seconds up the road is Max in 7th place, so they can get onto the back of him. And then it's just about what can you do in the remainder of the race to try and close up to anyone else ahead.
Yeah, exactly that. It's going to be very interesting to see now. And one thing I am surprised at, Mike, it's still raining. You can see that the skies have got a bit lighter, but the rain is still coming down. So have we, misjudged it? Is the rain going to clear at all? Is this going to end in intermediate conditions that we're going to have to wait and see?
I mean, it's going to be interesting. Matthias around the outside of Hockey Night through turn number 2. They're still side by side coming into the S's, still wheel to wheel. The Haas, and the Haas is off, wheel to wheel contact, and the Haas goes off into the distance. Matthias and Hockey Night coming together, and Hockey Night coming out. Unfortunately, fortunately for him, he's come out without wing damage, but unfortunately, it's a lot of time and positions lost for the Haas, and now Matthias and Joe are free to go chasing after Max in this race.
Yes, which is what they're going to need to do now. Can they close that? I mean, Matthias looks as though he's got great pace at the minute. Joe fighting behind him on his fresh intermediate tyres, and Jamie not too far behind as well.
Yeah, and of course for Jamie and Mason, for them, keeping their penalty free and keeping close to the cars in front of Joe and Matthias is going to be crucial for them late into this race. Linfalk there with a 3-second time penalty of his own. And right now, if you are Rydog and you have the stream open, you are absolutely just loving life, because everyone that has the pace to compete with you is picking up the 3-second time penalties or having to make extra stops for extra sets of intermediates.
Yeah, exactly that. So Rydog's put himself in the perfect position. Lawrence is 7 seconds further back with that damaged front wing. So he's going to find it extra difficult when this circuit dries up. He's going to have chronic understeer, Mike, unless he decides to change it in the pit lane. But Mike, I'm looking now. I'm only seeing a couple of drops. In fact, I'm now seeing no drops at all. The rain has stopped. slick conditions are only a few laps away.
Yeah, I mean, it's been teasing us for the past couple of laps, and it has extended on until lap 18. But yeah, I'm not seeing any downfalls whatsoever, as Matthias crucially getting through ahead of Max. And up into P7 goes the Sauber. Now it's on Joe to try and follow through. And now we wait for the signal of DRS enabled. And the former Fury is already opting for the medium compound tyres. That's probably a little bit too early in my opinion.
I think that is a couple of laps too early. But you never know. Fury might have called it here. But Mike, it looks a lot brighter the last 30 to 60 seconds. So, and Lawrence is in the pit lane, Mike. Lawrence is in the pit lane. He thinks it's ready.
And Vitinho's in as well. So Lawrence into the pits. He's going on set in the mediums. Has he changed his front wing? I think he might have. Yes, he has.
Yeah.
He's changed the front wing. And he is going to come out, I think, just behind Vitinho. But with a fresh front wing, and if DRS gets enabled, plus with Vitinho's 3-second time penalty, he's going to be in a decent position to try and get himself a P2 finisher. And you never know, in the dry conditions, he might have the better pace versus Rydog.
Yeah, exactly that. And you can see a ton of cars coming into the lane now. There's going to be drivers as well being held up by their teammates here, because there's going to be a lot of double stacking involved. But you can see that they're all going on to the medium tyres, except for our race leader, Rydog, out on his own, still on those inters. You feel as though he's bound to box very soon.
Yeah, not only is he still on the inters, Rydog is losing a bit of time to Vitinho here. I mean, through the first sector, he was closing up quite considerably, and the yellow flags are out, and I think that's Gazerman having a moment. Yes, it is, falling down to P6. Miles now up into P5. And on for a net P4 finish, actually. So, Miles, I mean, we saw Lindfeld's pace earlier. He got off to a great start, was leading the race. But, I mean, right now, he could be falling as far as P5 in this race, as Rydog is now in the pit lane. It's just the fastest lap of the race, over 45.2. And this is going to be another thing, Cole, where we're going to see the fastest lap, obviously being broken lap after lap after lap. So it's going to be interesting. Obviously, Rydog now on the pit lane exit, and he'll come out in the race lead still. But what will the gap be between himself and Vitinho? Rydog through turn 1 now. Lindfalk, another 3-second time penalty to add to his rows. And the gap, Cole, is going to be around about 10 seconds.
About 10 seconds. Now, can Rydog keep that pace up? Let's see what level of grip he's got. And more importantly, what's his straight line speed? As Jamie gets 3 seconds, that's not going to help his cause either. So this is where you find these penalties come in, Mike, is when they have a lot more grip than they think they realise they've got.
Oh, Lawrence picking himself up a 3-second time penalty. Had just gone on board with him as he got onto that inside curb, and that's a 3-second for him. One thing I was going to bring up, Cole, and this could be the only hope for Vitinho and Lawrence in this race, is a bit of an alliance by here, a bit of a truce between the pair of them. They're trying to DRS tow each other and swap all the way up to Rydog, because obviously they'll be able to gain time down the DRS straights, and that is going to be crucial. In the corners, it doesn't appear that Rydog is really flying away from these guys, so maybe Rydog's setup more inclined to the intermediates than the dries, but we're going to have to wait and see, as Rydog is going to be just trying to get his tyres switched on. Lawrence now within that 1 second window, and we are going to see what is going to happen in the remainder of the races. It is a sizable gap, but if Vitinho and Lawrence work together, maybe they can bring that down and possibly put Rydog under pressure by the end of this race. Lawrence with the fastest lap of the race so far, and now that's been beaten by Lindfeld.
Nips it.
Honestly, I think Hockey Night might get the fastest lap of the race in totality, but that's only because he's on the soft tyres. If I'm Fury Formula, I'm looking at that fastest lap point and making sure I'm going away with at least something in this race.
Yeah, without a doubt. Hockey Nye, now he is on the soft tyres. Can he make them last the rest of this race? That's going to be very, very difficult. And there you go, Mike. Spot on. Hockey Nye sets the fastest lap of the race with a 36.1.
Yeah, absolutely. DRS not enabled yet, Cole, and is looking... Oh, no, sorry, it is enabled. It didn't pop up on my side. At least I didn't see it pop up. But DRS enabled now as Lawrence closed in on Vitinho. The gap, 11 seconds between Vitinho and Rydog. Remember, both Vitinho and Lawrence with 3-second time penalties. So that gap is more like 14 seconds than 11. Rydog, I mean, it's just been an absolute perfect strategy from him.
Yeah, absolutely. He's demolished the field. Absolutely tremendous performance. He's still got to keep it together. We still have, and there's the fastest lap from Rydog. So his pace around this track has been absolutely astonishing.
Yeah, as Jamie getting through on Max up in the P9 now for Jamie. And he'll be hoping that he can try his best to pull away. And of course, Mason will be looking to try and capitalize on these time penalties. But I feel that obviously with the field being spread as much as it is, the highest that both of the Williams drivers are going to finish is going to be P9 and P10 in this race. Max with another 3-second time penalty. Unless, Cole, we do get a late safety car.
Yes, which isn't out of the realms of possibility. We still got 6 laps left. Lawrence all over the back of Vitinho. Vitinho looks like he let him go there. Now, was that a little bit of a tactic to get DRS down the main straight? No, Lawrence still has. It hasn't worked. Lawrence still gets that critical DRS.
And now, Cole, we get to see Lawrence's pace versus Rydog's. Obviously, it's a big order for Lawrence, but let's just see what could have happened if the gap wasn't as big as what it currently is.
Let's see what Lawrence has got in hand, but he does have to be a little bit careful of Vitinho behind him. But just a reminder that Vitinho and Lawrence do have 3 seconds each, so the position on track is going to matter. And Vitinho still in that DRS of Lawrence.
Yeah, absolutely. And Vitinho, I think, is just going to be happy to get towed along and then make the move when it matters on the final lap. So I think that's Vitinho's plan. Save up the battery, but I think that's also going to be Lawrence's plan. So I have a feeling there's going to be some DRS mind games going on here, Cole, between Vitinho and Lawrence.
Yes, don't forget, One Hub introduced a rule for this season that DRS chicken is not allowed. So it is outlawed. So if the stewards see any DRS chicken, they will come down on the drivers. So any drivers listening in to the stream, just be careful and be wary of that.
Yeah, absolutely. And obviously, the one thing as well, as Lawrence just picked himself up a needless warning.
Yeah.
There. Did you see that? He just...
Yeah, that was very, very careless. I think he was just trying to break the slipstream and gave himself a 3-second time penalty. That was very, very silly from the McLaren driver.
Yeah, that is not ideal there from Lawrence, because now, obviously, Vitinho, only with that 3 second, is going to jump ahead of him. So Vitinho now, he doesn't have to push to get the overtake done. Obviously, I was going to bring up the fact that if these two started fighting, then maybe it might bring Lindfalk and Miles into the equation, because Miles is keeping it penalty free right now. He is going to jump ahead of Lindfalk at this current moment in the race, but if those two were fighting up ahead, then Miles potentially could have maybe snagged himself a podium or possible P2 at the end of this race. And now Vitinho is just going to be happy and content just sitting behind, I think.
Yeah, exactly that. Talking of penalties, Mike, Rydog, Miles and Mason are the only drivers who have yet to get a penalty, which, to be fair, on this track is actually quite good going. So I don't know, as Linfalk gets another 3 seconds, puts him on 9 seconds, Mike. Let me just double check that. Yes, Linfalk is now on 9.
It's not Lindvalk's day today, unfortunately for him. It was looking good in the first stint, but the constant need for the pit stops now for Lindvalk and the strategy has just meant that he's been put in a position where he's no longer in the hunt for the podium, and with the time penalties as well, he's almost confined himself now to P5 in this race.
Yeah, it does seem that way, doesn't it? Let's just have a little look. Who's got the fastest lap at the minute? Let me just get
I believe
that.
Rydog still does.
Yes, Rydog has got the fastest lap for the top 10. In the bottom 10 at the minute, it is Hockey Nye with a 36.1. But if Fury Formula, if I was him, I would box in the next couple of laps, stick some softs on. Well, box this lap, to be honest, chuck a soft on and try and get that fastest lap point from Hockey Night.
Well, I mean, here's the thing. So, Fury Formula is about to get himself a lap. So, he definitely does need to think about that fastest lap point now, in my opinion, because obviously he's already going to be a lap down. I would box at the end of this lap because it'll be lap 25 for him, but it'll be lap 26 for the race leaders. And then he's got a lap then to gain the ERS back. As, Lawrence, a big snap. And that's going to allow Vitinho through and up into P2. Yeah. And that is just before the DRS zone. So Lawrence will get the DRS, but Vitinho, they obviously now is going to be under a little bit of pressure with DRS, but I don't think he's really going to fight it. I think he's probably chucked his ERS off altogether. And there we go, Lawrence back through with DRS. Job done, but Vitinho, I mean, just very happy and content to sit in behind Lawrence. He knows he's on for a P2 finish, a podium finish with Vitinho. And this is big in terms of the constructors' call.
Yeah, this is huge for the constructors. The Williams drivers down in 9th and 11th places at the minute. Fury Formula not scoring, but Vitinho getting up into 3rd. But Mercedes are going to take more points, so Mercedes are going to bring some more points for him.
Yeah, I think overall, if we're looking at the points gain, I think McLaren are going to gain the most points at the moment, but it's not going to be by much. But look at this, we got a lovely little freeway battle call for the end of the race as Vitinho and Lawrence is trading positions. Gazaman, Matthias, and Joe. And this could be crucial on the points gain for McLaren in the constructors if Joe can get himself ahead of both the Red Bull and the Sauber here.
Yes, it could do, and this is going to be doing wonders for Matthias's championship as well. I think as points stand, Matthias will jump ahead of Mason into 3rd place in the title. So Matthias is going to be very, very conscious of that. Is he going to be able to make the move on Gaza? As Matthias gets another 3 seconds, that's not going to help. That's put him on 9 seconds of penalties now, Mike.
Yeah, it's not going to help at all. I mean, he is going to fall behind Joe, and even if he does get ahead of Gaza, he's going to fall back behind him. As Lawrence and Vitinho once again doing a nice little switcheroo with DRS. But, I mean, fortunately for Matthias, they got the gap to Jamie in behind. And Jamie also has got a penalty of his own. Mason is around about 12.5 seconds off the back. So unless Matthias picks himself up another 3-second time penalty, he's not going to be under serious threat from behind. So the lowest he'll finish is P8 at this moment in time.
Yes, so not the best result for Matthias today. Just making 2 mistakes as he goes down the inside of Gaza. Well, that's a lovely move. Very, very late move, but a lovely move from the Kick Sauber driver as he moves himself up into 6th place. He's now got to leg it as quick as he can, Mike.
Yeah, absolutely. He's absolutely caught Gazaman napping into turn 15 there, and he has absolutely sent it. And now he's trying to push to try and salvage something, but it's too little too late in my opinion for him to salvage anything. And for everyone else, the gaps are beginning to form. So this is the closest battle that we do have on track between Gazaman, Joe, and Matthias. But also as well, we got another battle to keep an eye on, the battle for P9, P10, and P11 with Mason, Max, and Jamie. And obviously, Mason with no penalties, he is going to jump ahead. Too late now for a safety car, Cole. So it's only going to be up to P9 for Mason unless more penalties come through for the likes of Joe, Gazaman, and Matthias, which I don't think is going to be enough for Mason to climb any more places. Miles still doing a good job sticking within 3 seconds of Lindfalk, so he's showing that he's still got good pace. But Rydog has just been a class of his own today.
He really has. A 15-second lead for the Mercedes driver and pulling away. Absolutely tremendous performance. He really got everything right. He's on his last lap now. He can almost walk it home. He's got, I mean, you've got to be honest, Mike, it's pretty much the perfect race.
Yeah, absolutely, and it was a perfect strategy from Rydog as well. He's definitely put in the practice, knowing that he can keep his tyres in check for at least 14 laps on the first set of inters, and he put himself in a great position early on by sticking with the wet tyres at the start. And then once the inters came into play, even though he was on the older inters, he was still holding the gap to Lindfalk and the guys in behind. And then, of course, they could not take the tyres as long as he could. So they ended up making a second pit stop before he made his first. And it's just giving him the advantage of just holding that lead throughout the race. It's been a brilliant, controlled race from Rydog from start to finish. And unless, well, I mean, Joe's about to try and get the move done on Gazman, so we're going to stay on board with this. But I'm going to immediately try to switch on to Rydog as he crosses the line, because I mean, he's just been absolutely fantastic today, the Mercedes, and it doesn't look like Joe got the best run. But coming through the final corner for the final time is the Mercedes of Rydog. It's been an absolute fantastic race for him, and he's going to cross the line to take the race win as Joe and Gazaman side by side on the exit of turn 12, as Joe with the inside line is going to make the move stick. Will Gazaman come back at him though? As he look, and they make contact, and that's Joe and Gaza in the wall.
Oh, that is huge. That is huge. That's big damage for both cars. I think the stewards will probably be reviewing that. And Joe has got no front wing whatsoever. Is he going to be able to bring it home? Just about, as he runs very, very wide one corner. Fortunately for those two, it was the last. But you feel as though that was a very needless accident.
Yeah, very needless. And I think, yeah, they just about had the gap to stay ahead of Mason, but that could have been very, very treacherous for the pair of them if there was an extra lap. But fortunately for them, it was the final lap of the race. But it does mean that Matthias stays in P6 because of that incident.
Oh yes, of course, yeah. So that really, really helped Matthias there, because he was going to drop down below those two, and so that is a big relief for Matthias there.
Yeah, absolutely, and yeah, I mean, Gazman and Joe coming in contact in the last lap. Obviously, they were both equal on penalties as well, so it was a battle for position and a battle for P6. Both of them making contact with each other, but honestly, that man on the top step of the podium, Rydog, race winner, fastest lap, and just the perfect strategy from him today.
Yeah, that was absolutely brilliant from Rydog there. You feel as though if he replicated that form in P2, he would have had much better results, because that was a very dominant performance by Rydog in the Mercedes.
Yeah, but real quickly, when you for the order, real quick, it is Rydog with the fastest lap of the race, taking the race win. Lawrence in P2 with Vitinho in P3, completing the podium. Then we've got Miles in 4th, Lindfalk in 5th, Matthias in 6th, Gazaman 7th, Joe in 8th, Mason 9th, Jamie in 10th, Max 11th, and Hockey Night picking up the final point paying position and the fastest lap outside of the top 10. So the Fury Formula was unable to get the fastest lap, and he is the last of the runners down in 13th place with no points to show for it, Cole.
Yeah, very frustrating race again for Fury Formula. But hopefully he can have a better result now in the next 2 races, which of course we know is going to be dry.
Yeah, absolutely. And of course, Cole, I mean, we're at the end of the race. It is time for the sim racing setup driver of the day. And honestly, I think that both of us, we have our driver of the day in mind. It's probably the exact same driver, but I'm going to come to you and give you the ability of picking the obvious choice.
Yeah, gotta be Rydog for me. An absolutely brilliantly executed race from Rydog. So my question for you, Rydog, is when you were starting 5th, did you ever think that you were going to be able to win that race by 15 seconds?
Yeah, and of course, that is a fantastic question to be asking, Rydog. In terms of my sim racing driver of the day, I'm gonna go with Vitinho, because it was a great performance for him. And my question for Vitinho is, great performance, congratulations on the podium. Obviously, minimizing the damage that could have been done in the constructors here today. How are you feeling about going into the final 2 rounds of the championship, knowing that Ferrari have one hand on the constructors championship now?
Yes, they certainly do. Permutation, easy for you to say, Cole. Wizard Cam will no doubt be on that now, and then next, in the next couple of weeks, these permutations will be displayed for the drivers, so they're going to know exactly what they're going to need to get the constructors championship done, and the P2 and P3, Mike, with only 2 rounds to go.
Yeah, absolutely. With only 2 rounds to go, it is all up in the air right now, but Ferrari, it looks like they're doing just about enough at the moment to hold on to that constructors lead. Can McLaren, can Mercedes, can Williams claw them back in the final 2 rounds? Only one way to find out, and that's of course by tuning in next week for round number 11 at the Mexico Grand Prix. But of course we got P2 coming up in just a few moments time. Cole, before we wrap things up tonight, massive shout out to our partners and sponsors here at One Hub Racing, of course. Next Level Racing, Sim Racing Setups, Pure Sim Gear, Vespa Twin, and of course Sim Grid. I am going to have to shoot now because I got a P2 race to get ready for. So guys, it's been absolutely fantastic from myself and Colin. Goodbye to all of you, and we'll catch you in the next stream. Until then, guys, it's goodbye from the pair of us.
Thanks all, goodbye.